west, apart from the odd shower across Northern Ireland. There'll be plenty of fine weather in store, lots of sunshine, but still quite chilly. Temperatures no better than the low to mid single figures in most places. Tuesday promises to be a much better day, more in the way of sunshine developing after a frosty, locally foggy start. A lot of dry weather around too, lots of sunshine, but again, those temperatures really will struggle. Again, no better than the low to mid single figures in most places. Highs of around about 5 Celsius, that's 41 in Fahrenheit. As for the rest of the week, well, we'll gradually see an increase in cloud from the north, so sunshine becoming more and more confined to southern areas.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Curse, on this Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa!
Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you,
GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Hello, good evening. You're with GB News. I'm Sam Francis. The headlines at 11. This week's planned tube strikes in the capital have been suspended. That's after progress has been made in discussions between the RMT and Transport for London. However, TfL is warning that there will still be disruption tomorrow because the walkouts were called off so late. Underground workers were due to strike in protest over a 5% pay offer. But RMT's General Secretary Mick Lynch has said that further negotiations can now take place after significant funding has been made available. We're being warned that snow is on the way as an amber cold health alert has been issued for parts of England. The Met Office has also issued a yellow weather warning from 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. That means snow and ice is likely to affect roads and train services in parts of Greater London, Kent, Surrey, East Sussex and in West Sussex. Meanwhile, more than 160 flood warnings remain in place across the country and over 1,800 properties have been damaged by floodwaters. After being criticised for not meeting with flooding victims, the Prime Minister has today been speaking with some of the residents affected in Oxford. During his visit, he said that the government's flood defences are working.
There have been many people affected by what's happened over the past week, but also 49,000 homes have been protected from flooding as a result of that investment, and also things like the pumps that I've been seeing here today and the flood barriers. Just in the community I've been walking around, hundreds of homes have been protected because of those investments. But of course this is going to be devastating for those who are impacted, which is why there's financial support in place. But overall, the investment that's going into flood defences is at a very, very high level.
Well, in other news, the Conservatives have chosen the partner of disgraced former MP Peter Bone to replace him. According to the party chair, Richard Holden, Helen Harrison was selected as the new candidate for Wellingborough at a meeting of members this afternoon. A by-election is being held there after Mr Bone was found to have indecently exposed himself to a staff member and trapped them in the bathroom of a hotel room. He has denied those allegations. Rishi Sunak has confirmed that the government is looking at exonerating post office staff that were caught up in the Horizon IT scandal. The Justice Secretary, Alex Chalk, is considering options to clear the names of branch managers who were convicted of false accounting, of theft and of fraud. More than 700 were given criminal convictions after faulty software had made it look as though money was missing from their shops. Victims say it's like a war to get compensation and that more pressure is needed to get the help that they need. And it's the 5th day of the longest NHS strike in history today as junior doctors hold their ground over pay and conditions. Hospitals concerned with patient safety are pleading for an end to the industrial action, with several NHS trusts declaring a critical incident as a result of those walkouts. Talks between the government and the British Medical Association broke down last month, with the union claiming its members' pay had been cut by more than a quarter since 2008. And a firefighter from Lancashire is attempting to break a Guinness World Record for the most weight lifted in just 24 hours. 42-year-old Glenn Bailey needs to lift more than 580,000 kilograms before tomorrow to beat the current record. He's hoping to lift 60 kilograms more than 12,000 times. He decided to take on that challenge to raise money and awareness for the firefighters' charity, which provides health and well-being services. Good luck to him. That's the latest from the GB Newsroom. For more, we're on TV, digital radio and our website, gbnews.com. This is GB News.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie and I'm very blessed that joining me tonight to go through Monday's newspapers are two of the best in the business. Leo Kearse from the comedy business and Lewis Schaefer from the telling you his real thoughts and then pretending they're a joke when he gets in trouble business. Hello, gentlemen. Do you have a nice weekend?
It was okay. I was doing GB News all weekend, so it didn't really feel like a weekend.
This is your last shift, right, is it? Yeah. What about you, Lewis?
I feel like you've just exposed me to the world out there.
I've told them all about the real you. But this is what
I think the people know that I'm an authentic human being, masquerading as someone who doesn't believe stuff.
I mean, that's as a baseline, like being a human being. Is
well, some of the performers that we've had to work with, some you're not quite sure that they're real.
Yeah, some of them you want to roll back into the sea.
Is that, that's not
a good analogy.
Guys, I'm here, please. Yeah. Right, let's have a quick sprint through Monday's front pages. We have the Times. Mental ill health driving. Okay, I was thinking that you were driving on. Anyway, shouldn't do that. Surge in disability claims. Guardian. Top Tory says party faces obliteration in election. The Mirror, together we must end this horror now. The iNews, ministers urge to act as flood risk lingers for thousands. The Metro, post office victims will get justice. The Star, oh snowballs, big freeze is on the way. And those were your front pages. So, Leo, we are going to kick off with Monday's Guardian.
So the Guardian has top Tory says party faces obliteration in election. That's Danny Kruger just saying what we all know, but obviously the Guardian are revelling in it. The other story they've got is Channel 4 may cut 200 staff after ad income falls. So Channel 4 are planning...
Sounds so gleeful.
yeah. I mean, gleeful, but also, like, you know, I hope it never... I don't want this clip to be taken, you know, and then used against me in a few years' time.
It's always sad when people lose jobs, obviously.
No, it's not.
Well, which depends on who, does it?
Hitler.
OK, you're right. When he lost his job, that was a good day. Good day. Anyone else?
What about that post office woman? The woman who ran the post office?
Yeah, OK, fair enough. All right, so let's say it's sad that people who work in a similar industry who aren't Hitler...
Well, they're not that far away from Hitler. They work for Channel 4, so they all read The Guardian. They're all, you know, sort of Islington...
Classic Hitlerisms.
Yeah, they're all these sort of overeducated, you know, incestuous milquetoasts who, you know, project their values onto the rest of us.
I'm here, Leo.
But they've undergone a rapid expansion in recent years, with staff numbers swelling to a record level of more than 1,200. So they've got a wage bill of more than £108 million a year. There's been an advertising crash for TV advertising, so they've got to slash 200 roles. Their content budget is, they're going to have to make deep cuts to their content budget, which is £700 million. So expect to see lots of very cheaply produced shows on Channel 4, except don't expect to see them. Everybody's watching other stuff. People are watching GB News, they're watching Netflix, which has a content budget of $17 billion, and YouTube has revenue of $30 billion, and that's going up every year.
So, I mean, so I was just going to say, Lewis, partly, yes, it's advertising. Partly, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that they've sort of inflated their workforce to this level. But also, how much of it do you think is them just making bad programmes?
Well, I don't know, because I never watched Channel 4.
Well, that's the answer then. Maybe that's the answer.
I don't know if it's good or bad. I do know that they've basically set up these satellite offices around the country in Leeds and Glasgow, or, you know, Manchester, so that if they do cut people's jobs, those local people are going to lose their jobs. It's the exact same thing that they do in America when they build a B-1 bomber, is they put a little money into every single congressional district so that every single congressman has to vote for it, even though it's a boondoggle. Okay. So that's what it sounds like when a company does that. Well, not even a company, when the government does that, it's a boondoggle.
Well, Steph's Packed Lunch, was that Channel 4? Because that was terrible. That's been
I actually cannot remember the last programme I watched on Channel 4.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Right, moving on to Monday's Telegraph, Lewis.
Monday's Telegraph. Big news. Khan bows to unions over tube strikes. There are tube strikes going on. And
we should explain to people outside of London, we have a network of trains that go under the ground, and they're called colloquially the tube.
Right, and basically 99% of all the train lines in the entire country seem to start in London, end in London. It's all London-centric. Then London basically, and I'm a Londoner, I live in London, I love this place, but I think it sucks the life out of the entire country. I think London is the worst thing about Britain. Is that is the worst thing. Maybe the royal family, the NHS. There's lots of other things that are bad. So the tube drivers are on strike. Khan, who is Labour, gets money from the tube drivers, so it's kind of hard for him to be a bit objective, and he's actually has the power to quash this thing, to say, you can't go on strike. Didn't they change the laws?
They were going to be, Leo, closed for a week.
Yeah.
Surely, let's just automate it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, what do they think they are? Junior doctors? This is a nonsense. And yeah, they're doing a job that a robot could do. Not even a smart robot. Like, literally, all they've got to do is sit there and press the button that makes the tube go, press the button that makes it stop, and press the button that makes the doors open. And that's the only things they have to do.
Dealing with Lewis.
There's not even a steering wheel.
What about closing the doors? You left closed. It's just like you journalists.
No, the same button. You just hold the button down, then when you take your finger off the button, the doors close.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But yeah, I mean, the more that they push these strikes and whatnot, the more people just have to be going, you're getting paid. And when we find out how much they're actually getting paid...
About three times as much as a junior doctor, by the way.
It's totally insane. Look, and fair dues to the unions for getting them that money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, come on now you're taking the mickey.
Yeah, and also, I mean, London, Sadiq Khan, the TfL, they're desperately short of money because of lockdown, which obviously Sadiq Khan back. We really need a change of leadership in London. We need a new mayor because Sadiq Khan is in the pocket of the unions, so he's obviously going to just, splash money that he doesn't have over these drivers who don't deserve it.
I mean, what do you think the chances are, very quickly before we move on, how it just can't go? Because, Labour sort of dominates London elections generally. As long as he's Labour candidate, he seems like he's a shoo-in. Well,
Labour have done a great job of importing people into London who vote Labour. I mean, that's all, for all that they say, like, oh, everybody, we should have open borders, everybody should come here because it's the altruistic thing to do. Really what they want to do, what they're doing is importing voters. And now that white British people are in a minority in London, it is harder to get people in who aren't Labour. But I think Sadiq Khan, everybody is sick of him. Everybody. Every Uber driver I speak to is sick of him, is sick of all the ULEZ nonsense. And I think Sean Bailey, last time round, everybody thought Sean Bailey was going to do terribly, and he actually did really well. So this time round, I think we're going to have another surprise, and this time it could actually go over the line and dethrone Khan.
We will see. Right. And what are the Times going with then, Leo?
So the Times have got mental ill health driving surge in disability claims. So the cost of the benefit to the taxpayer is set to rise 50% amid warnings the bill is out of control. And this rankles with me because when you think of disability benefit, you think of somebody who can't use their arms or something like that, so they get a monkey to roll cigarettes for them or whatever it is. I don't know what you get in the government. It's probably a robot or something now. But they forecast that the bill for disability benefits is going to go up to £48 billion a year, which is just insane, and is being driven by mental health, so depression and anxiety. And I'm sorry, but if you've got depression and anxiety, you can still work. Yeah. Most people who work, in fact, if you work, you're probably more likely to be depressed and anxious because you've got to go to work.
I'm depressed and anxious. That's my base state. You're depressed and anxious.
Especially at GB News.
Yes, just come and get a job as a headliner's panel.
Because that's where I'm working. But you know what? This is where you're wrong. Because mental illness is a major problem, and the reason it's growing is because of the kinds of foods that we're eating, which are high carbohydrate foods. And you can Google that.
Take a shot at home, everybody.
Yeah.
But the fact that I'd never read before was how the depression and anxiety is now going to be the leading cause of this bill.
Yeah.
That seems crazy.
Yeah,
no pun.
We need to roll it back and whatever the things were in the 1970s.
Right.
When you had to be properly disabled, physically disabled to get this. You can't just be because anybody. Also,
those were the good old days.
It was really easy to fake. You turn up to the doctors. Oh, I'm anxious. How are they going to test that? You know what I mean? Oh, I'm depressed. It's your word against his, and then you get all these benefits, and you get elevated.
That's if you actually ask for it. I went to my doctor about 5 years ago before I changed my diet and looked amazing.
Right, that's
good.
Enough now.
They just gave me pills. I didn't. They said to me, Lewis, you look depressed, and they gave me a prescription for citalopram or pram or whatever.
I think being a Lewis Schaefer fan might be a sign of mental illness, but I don't know. Anyway, come back in a second to find out all the fantastic stories that we have for you. See you then. Bye.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
to find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie. I'm still here. Leo Kearse is still here. And most importantly, Monday's papers are still here. Lewis Schaefer's also here. Anyway, let's kick off, Leo, with Monday's Guardian as Rishi Sunak plans to exonerate a bunch of people who were innocent anyway. That's very nice of him.
Yeah, so post office operators whose lives have been ruined by the Horizon scandal could be exonerated under plans being considered by the government, Rishi Sunak has said. So this follows a national outcry over the treatment of post office staff due to the faulty accounting software that made money, disappear. So it looked like they'd stolen it. So loads of them, I think 700 of them were accused and loads of them were prosecuted. And it led to, it's horrific, led to 4 suicides and obviously reputations ruined and people losing their jobs. And these are people stalwart members of the community. So although it would be funny if one of them had been nicking money and hey, well,
this was the time to do it.
Yeah, I wasn't just you should have stuck the glue on that envelope for that birthday card down a bit.
That's like the Joan Rivers joke.
Oh, really?
Is that there must have been someone who died in 9/11 who other people were happy about.
Oh, okay, well...
Or was going to commit suicide that day. It was possible.
Okay, let's get back...
we should get back to this.
Let's get back to this tragedy. Let's leave 9/11 for later, guys.
Yeah, so...
Let's not peak too soon with our 9/11.
So, yeah, more than 700 branch managers were wrongly handed criminal convictions. And this is insane. You'd think with these numbers, would nobody just look at this and just on a sort of, common sense level think, well, that seems to be an awful lot of post office branch managers. Maybe there's something else. And even after they discovered errors with the software, they were still prosecuting people. This is how, gunked up and bureaucratic this country is. We need to slash it. We need a Javier Milei to come in and slash all this stuff. It's ridiculous.
Well, Lewis, why is Rishi Sunak... Why have they not just immediately overturned these 700 prosecutions? Supposedly 93 convictions have been overturned. 23 have received compensation. This is out of 700 people, and now he's going. And by the way, the other thing I want to say is, and Lewis, I'll direct this as an actual question to you.
Yes.
Do you think that this is an indictment on the press in this country? The fact is, it takes an ITV show. Yes, it has been covered over the last few years, but not to the scale and the tragedy that it deserves. And it's now? This has been going on for 20 years.
I think it's that's the best question. Is it the press? No, there's something very deep about this country that the people have no energy. The people are dead, and they need to complain. Those 700 people should have been rioting, but the relatives of the 700 people should have been rioting for the 700. There's something missing. That's why I've been sent here. God has sent me to Britain to do what you say, to basically scream and shout about this. It's like I said, it's like that HSBC, whatever, the banking scandal, where they're like charging people £35 for a slightly overdrawn thing, which they knew was illegal, And yet, in order for you to get money, you've got to make a complaint and ask about it.
I want to add to this. We're going to move on to the next story, but I want to say one thing that I've been following this for a few years now.
Yeah.
But the thing that I never realised until this article is that the Post Office massively profited from this because the people who were accused had to pay back all this missing money to them. So the Post Office made loads of... wow. It's an insane... I mean, the levels of it just keep going up.
But I think if they exonerate those people, I think it will set a bad example to other people who deserve to be exonerated.
Okay. Yeah, Lewis is right. People should have been kicking up a stink about this. Don't accept it. It's like we saw that during lockdown. Everyone's like, oh, the government says we've got to wear this mask and sit in our homes. It's like, why are you doing
you
it?
say that, but they were kicking up a fuss, and they have, and that's how it... But it took people spending their life savings to get us to this point.
They should have had people by the neck with a sawn-off shotgun demanding a helicopter.
Oh, Dave, I've got to say you shouldn't have sawn-off shotguns.
You took it a bit too far.
Lewis, who are Monday's Independent throwing a bone to?
Well, this is the Tories. Tories choose partner of disgraced ex-MP Peter Bone to fight a by-election to replace him. This is up there, not even up there that far. It's up there in Wallingborough. I think it's like that flat area around that no one ever visits. Around there. And what happened is this guy Peter Bone, we don't know whether this is true or not, but they basically kicked him out of office for hitting on some young kid, but he was 71 years old, so more power to him. Anyway, well, when you're 67, you don't have the energy.
It wasn't just that. He was he repeatedly physically struck and threw things. Now, he's saying that he didn't, but this is what the independent expert panel...
You know what? Well, you can't believe it. These are the same people who supported the Post Office debacle.
Anyway,
but here's the point.
Let's get to the
Can I make my point? My point is what's weird is they don't like him, but they've basically chosen his wife to run. It's like his partner, when a dictator, when when Marcos goes away, and Imelda and Philippines probably don't know what this.
Can you tell us the reason why they've chosen?
They've chosen him because they're afraid that he's going to run as an independent, which is going to siphon votes away from the Tories, and the Tories are going to totally lose the election, even though they had an 18,000 vote majority the last time. And the truth is, it's true because people are fed up with the fake Tories.
So, Leo, is this a sign? I mean, he's basically holding them to ransom. Is this a sign of how weak Sunak is?
Yeah, possibly. And also, I mean, Mr. Bone has always denied the allegations. I think he's like one of those postmasters. I think
you get that shotgun out.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, Express now. And Leo, Starmer is very concerned about threats to MPs, and that's before Labour's even done anything yet.
Yeah, so Sir Keir Starmer admits he's very concerned about threats to MPs over the Israel-Gaza war. So Labour MPs have been offered beefed-up security advice following direct threats since the Israel-Hamas war began in October. And obviously, Starmer has been quite staunch in his support for Israel, whereas a lot of his politicians at the local level and MPs have been criticising, calling for a ceasefire, criticising Israel. There's also been threats directed against Labour MPs and vandalism at their offices, and I think their homes as well. But I mean, I don't have any sympathy for Labour MPs because they're all like, oh, we need open borders. Oh, we should have mass immigration from the Middle East. It's like, well you've got it, and now you've brought these attitudes in, and now you're reaping the...
Okay, so maybe this is historically the truth, but that's not what they're saying nowadays.
What do you mean?
What I mean is they're quite clear about the fact that they want to control migration.
Well, it's a bit late now.
Well, okay, so that's what I'm saying. So historically, but the point is, they're not still saying let everybody in or anything like that.
At that time,
but they never said let everybody in. Leo's right about this.
Douglas Murray was warning us about this, decades ago.
Yeah, but
people accused him of being racist or Islamophobic.
But you know who else was worried about this? Tony Blair was concerned about this, and was also
Tony Blair was the architect of this.
But at the same time, he was also writing about this stuff 20 years ago, saying they need to control their immigration, they need to redo the immigration.
Up until October the 7th, you were in favour of mass immigration.
No, I wasn't in favour of mass immigration. I was in favour of controlled immigration, and I was in favour of What I was in favour of was the fact that people from certain countries having the right to asylum here. Yeah. Legitimately, but I always said that yes, it's been exploited. And to be fair, you have enlightened me more to that. But this is a serious issue here because we have a democracy. We have the ability to disagree with each other. Yeah. But when you're protesting outside people's homes and MPs' homes, when you also have the Golders Green MP Mike Freer, his office he had threats, and then his office mysteriously goes someplace. Now that investigation hasn't concluded yet. Yeah. But I mean, it's easy to make a link.
David Amos, Joe Cox. You know, we've a history of politicians being attacked and killed.
It's not even a question. The truth is, there's a war going on. There's a couple of wars going on with the left and right war, but we've also have this mass immigration. People from a different culture are moving into this country. It's not even this. It's in America's melting pot where people move together, and what they're having now is multinationalism.
No, you're right. Thank you very much, Lewis, for stating the case why you shouldn't have been let in. Moving on to the mail, and Lewis, surely this money would be better spent just bribing people not to come.
Well, yeah, or maybe on bullets to prevent them from reaching the border.
Oh, my God. What are you talking about? You can't say that.
Why can't I say that?
What bullets to look? What are they going to do with those bullets?
Well, I guarantee you, in every border, in every part of the world, the people have bullets in the police have bullets in their guns.
So I imagine our police have bullets in their.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do, and I don't think what they're doing is setting up enough deporting illegal migrants. I'm not in favor of killing people, but I am saying.
Thank you. Finally, for letting that out there.
I'm not in favour of killing people.
But lots of police, every policeman in America carries a gun. It doesn't mean they're in favour of killing people.
But it means when people break the law, there has to, as a deterrent, deporting illegal immigrants from the UK set to cost the taxpayer $2 billion over the next 7 years. What's happened is the Home Office put up a procurement contract asking for bidders on this $2 billion, 700,000 a day plan to ship people overseas and to put them up in hotels, and that's how much it's going to cost, $2 billion over the next 7 years. That's just part of it. That's not even the processing fees. That's just the actual, I guess, the hard work.
That doesn't include Rwanda. So, Leo, Sir Ian Duncan Smith, he said this is ridiculous, and the money should just be spent earlier down the line, i.e. to process the people, so we're not having to then get rid of them later.
But that's not. I mean, this whole thing works on incentives. If there's still an incentive for people to come, they're still going to come in unsustainable numbers. And it's sad because, you know, obviously a lot of people just want to come and make a better life for themselves. And you meet so many people who are really feel themselves part of Britain and contribute to the economy and all the rest of it. But, you know, also a lot of people are coming in who who basically hate Western civilization and want to kill us. We've seen terrorist attacks. We've seen the attacks on Labour MPs we were just talking about. I mean, this money, the money for Rwanda, the good thing is it's not new money. It comes out of our foreign aid budget. So when we're talking about this money being spent, it's not coming from us. It just means people in third world countries won't be helped.
Yes, they will suffer.
Food out their mouths, so they'll suffer because the left insist on having open borders. And Ian Duncan Smith's idea of processing people so that doesn't remove the incentive.
Yes,
because if you process people and they can stay, then
No, but I think he's meaning process them to remove them as they're coming in.
Yeah, but maybe there's a way. Maybe it's just the sissification of you people. Yeah. I don't care why. This is not my country. If you want to let in everybody and destroy the place, that's your business. But something can be done to stop people from coming. What you do is you either build walls, which I think walls are failures, or you take aggressive action by invading their countries and making sure that they cannot.
Wow, okay. Is this going to be the future Labour policy? Thank you so much, Lewis.
Well, it's got to be simple. What is the matter with the people out there? It's so simple. Simple.
Spy bullets and invade countries. Thank you, Lewis, for that very
whatever you
commentary.
Need to do.
Okay, well done for making it to the halfway point, which will see you amply rewarded in the next section with Joey Barton Unleashed, Jodie Foster Unleashed, and Children Leashed. It'll make sense. See you in 2.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
Really?
Welcome back to Headliners, straight into the Telegraph, Leo, with a story about Gaza. I mean, Tower Hamlets.
You wouldn't know seeing the flags that are around there. So the East London Borough has been accused of criminal offences over Palestinian flags. Tower Hamlets, led by controversial Mayor Lutfer Rahman, is accused by lawyers of failing to remove the flags, stickers and posters that show the Palestinian flag. And yeah, this is ridiculous. I mean, going down to Bethnal Green and going down to Tower Hamlets, you see it's like every lamppost has got a Palestinian flag on it. And it's like, and you know for a fact that all the people that are putting these Palestinian flags up would be crying if they were Union Jacks, saying, "Oh, this is racist. The British flag is everywhere. It's like some sort of Nazi regime." It's insane. I don't know. This is English soil. As a Scotsman, I don't go around like sticking the Scottish flag on every lamppost.
And it's also acts as that there's stickers which are like saying "Victory to the Intifada." The Intifada. Which for Jewish people lost, whether you're Israeli or not, know people who died in bombs and whatnot. So it's intimidating to the Jewish residents in the area. But would you mind just describing it's funny because these lawyers, they found this like law and that's what they're hoping to get them on, because it's council property. So because they own the land that has all these flags and stuff, that's how they're trying to get them, sort of NIMBYism.
Yeah, so they're using. I mean, but that's how everything works. They're using some little note in the law to get them to move them. But it is nuts how we were just talking about cultures coming over to the UK, and Tower Hamlets basically has just transplanted entirely this culture. Lutfer Rahman, the borough's mayor, had previously been barred from public office for corruption for 5 years, but he served his 5-year ban and now he's back in. People aren't like no, let's keep this guy out.
Well, what's interesting about that is he broke away from Labour.
Yeah.
And there is such a dominance of the Muslim vote that he was able to do that and win. Are we going to see more of this, Lewis, do you think, of these kind of voter enclaves?
I think...
people breaking away for Labour.
I mean, if mass immigration continues, yes. The whole America, as I said, is is melting pot. Where a little bit, you got a soup and you add little bits of this. It's still a soup. It's still the kind of soup that you remember. But over time, maybe it changes for the better because it's something different. But what we have here is we have these enclaves, and eventually it's the entire country. And this is what happened when the Vikings took over. You know, in this country, any place that has a B at the name, like Saxby or Grimsby or, you know, any B, is a place where people lived very separated lives. And that's not good for a country. We need people to join together.
Okay, but I mean, we should be. When we say taking over, we're still talking about extreme minorities in. You know, it's
right
like
now, it's an extreme minority, but it's not that extreme because the number.
I'm not saying extreme minority. Yeah. I mean, they're a minority. They're a.
So we're talking millions.
I'm not saying extreme in terms of ideology. Extreme, just like they're extreme.
But we're talking millions of people. And if you want to talk about a minority, I think there's 400,000 Jews in Britain.
So no, it's less than that.
Less than that. 200,000. So some have left since I did that poll. Yeah. But yeah. So I mean, Jews really are a tiny minority, and they seem to be the ones who are being oppressed and being attacked and having all this like vehement hate directed at them. And these flags in Tower Hamlets are an example of that hate. And I noticed there's another London borough, was it Redbridge? I can't remember. Another one in East London that actually went out. The council went out and took the flags down themselves. So yeah, Tower Hamlets should do the same.
Well, let's move on. But yeah, absolutely. It seems like rules for the Palestinian activists, one rule for them, one rule for everybody else, and that's just not fair. Right, Monday's Sun Lewis, and it seems like someone's mad as hell isn't going to take it anymore.
Well, this is Joey Barton, and it was a football player. I know who the guy is, and he used to play for Manchester United. And he goes on another vile sexist rant accusing female pundits of using sexuality to get an advantage. This is one of the most. This is a zero story in the midst of a non-story. Basically, they're mad at him for accusing non-named pundits for getting their jobs through sex, but we don't know who these were. It's hard to make an accusation if you don't.
By the way, we should cut to this photo that you have up now and discuss how you got your job.
Well, no, this has nothing to do with it. There's Andrew Doyle. I'm just a fan of Andrew Doyle. There's nothing.
Okay,
there's nothing.
Just a coincidence, is what you're
saying. There's nothing untoward.
I think Andrew's boyfriend watches this, so
I'm a big fan of Andrew's boyfriend as well.
Okay. Let's not examine that any further.
And you know what? I'm a big fan of yours, Josh.
Let's not put that photo up. So
handsome young man.
But Lewis, I disagree with you in that, and hopefully maybe Leo, you might agree with me. This diatribe he's supposedly going on in the newspaper. It's ironic, The Sun, by the way, calling him sexist.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, really, he's talking about meritocracy. He's also essentially said on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, X, you know what? I'm just going to speak the truth now. I've had enough of this woke palaver, and he seems to be really calling out. He seems to know what he's talking about, and he's got 2 million followers, and they're going, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he's really got a point, and this is the trouble because he's really got a point, but he's not being polite about it, and he's also going in for personal attacks sometimes. A lot of which are very, very funny, and I'm really enjoying. There's one he got attacked by, I can't remember who it was, Marina Purkis or something. And he just replied being like, I put 10 quid in your tip jar so you can get your roots done, and it's just like this level of hilarious brutality. But obviously, the lack of politeness is really offending the the woke mob who insist that everybody treat each other with politeness, even when they're calling for the genocide of Israel or whatever. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously people use their sexuality to get an advantage. Everything he says has got like at least.
But how is this a story? How is this a story?
I'll tell you why it's a story, Lewis. This is why I believe it's a story. Because he's an example of of the dam breaking against the diversity, inclusion stuff, against the trans ideology, all this stuff that's been building for years now, where sensible people have had enough and said, you know what, someone with a penis is not a woman and shouldn't be sports, and all the other stuff that comes with it. Now, I don't agree with everything that he says, but the point is people are speaking their voice now. People are speaking and saying what they think. And I feel feel like people have been living in fear now for years. Yeah. And now I feel like the dam is
But
breaking.
has he named the name?
No,
has
he has.
Joanne Smith, she used
he
the
hasn't named the name for this sexuality thing, but he's named the names with the football commentators, and we all know that these diversity hours in every aspect of life. It's not just football commentating, but they're, you know, a lot of the time they can't do the job, and they're not selected because they're the best.
Yes. But that's not this story. This story is he said there's somebody working out there.
Fine, but this is part of the Great Hell. Right. Monday Sun, Lewis. No, we're not. We all done the Sun. We are going to move on to the Times. And Leo, female presenters at the BBC. Is it going to work?
So 5 female BBC News presenters who were sidelined in March as part of a merger are expected to be given new jobs in the coming months, but they've all been on full pay for nearly a year while this row was sorted out. So they've been doing nothing and getting paid hundreds of thousands of pounds. And this whole thing, this messy merger of the sort of BBC's domestic and foreign news channel, is supposed to save money, but their top talent allegedly are just sitting on their couches at home doing nothing and getting paid hundreds of thousands of pounds from the licence fee, and I think it's ridiculous. It shows, you know, blatant mismanagement at the BBC, and like, why are we paying? Well, not we, because I don't pay it, but why are people paying their licence fee for this?
Absolutely, and I want to just say one thing. We're going to move on to the next story because we're running out of time. But I just want to say what's interesting about this article in the Times is that the actual story totally doesn't match the headline, and the headline essentially says they're about to get their new jobs a result, and then when you read on, the BBC sort of says, yeah, no, they're not going to get their jobs. It's like when you get it, and it feels to me like a planted story by probably one of the connections to the women mentioned in this article to kind of force the BBC's hand. But anyway, well, no. Daily Mail next. Lewis.
Daily Mail.
One of your fellow thespians is complaining about working with one of your girlfriend's generation.
Well, she is a kind of like a thespian.
What,
is that what you meant? Is that
no,
what you
I meant like your girlfriend's generation Z.
Do you know what? Richard
is an actor.
Yeah, an actor. I know. But Richard Nixon actually accused his competitor in a political race of being a thespian, and people didn't know what that meant, and they voted against her. It's a true story. You can look that up.
Anyway, quickly tell the story.
So Jodie Foster, she's a 61-year-old thespian and actress, and she spoke in The Guardian, and she basically complained about people who are younger than her. And it just shows you reach a certain age, and we all of us, not even just the guys, we get grumpy. We get grumpy. We don't like you young kids because you're not having sex with us. And I think that's what it is.
One of them is.
So what? It's interesting here, but this is an article, Leo, just of a bunch of tweets. They've literally cut and pasted a bunch of tweets.
That is what journalism is these days. It's much easier to just cut and paste a bunch of tweets than go out and do some investigative journalism and find out, why 700 postmasters are going to jail. But yeah, this is, I guess it shows, the sign of the times. Young people are entitled, and old people don't like it. But then the young people are saying, well, it's always been this way. Young people have always been entitled, and old people have always not liked it. So maybe it is just,
I don't know. She was a child actor. Yeah. I think she famously worked very, very hard. I can see, in Bugsy Malone or whatever. I don't think she was rocking up at 10:30. Yeah. And where, I'm a bit tired. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I imagine. Well, that's child actors back then. They were like up at 6. And
given their barbiturates.
that's the second issue, which is it's the fact is there are some people who are super, super hardworking and succcever, and they're always going to complain about people who aren't hardworking. It's whatever the Alex Ferguson effect or the Tom Cruise. There's always those people who are top, like Leo over here, working super hard, and he's or Josh complaining about Louis Schaefer and my laziness.
You're not lazy at all. You're one of the first people here. Right, let's go to the final section featuring vigilante ex-cops, fat fear, and who of us three is most a Neanderthal. See you there.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
to find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
every Sunday from 11. Join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No, I think you're next, Norman Lewis. Anyway, welcome back to Headliners and getting down to Monday's Mirror, Leo, for a story about a policeman actually doing his job. Oh, he's an ex-policeman.
Yeah, he's retired, so he's in trouble for doing his job when he wasn't actually employed to do it. So a retired cop is furious after being handed a £130 fine for chasing a shoplifter in his car, not the shoplifter's car. So this is Norman Brennan, who's 64. He travelled nearly 2 miles helping police arrest the thief he had tracked with his car, which he's since been fined from. So he's hit out of the broken justice system, which has given him this fine. He drove the wrong way down a one-way street, and so the council have given him this. In fairness, it was at 5 miles an hour, so no, it wasn't Starsky and Hutch. There weren't cardboard boxes going flying. The council, so he's appealed against the council, which is the London Borough of Richmond upon Thames, and they've said you had now legal authority to enter the road. It's like he was stopping a shoplifter who stole all this stuff. 9
bottles of wine.
And posh bottles of wine as well. And nothing's happened to the shoplifter. He nicked this stuff from Sainsbury's. This just shows, don't try and be good. Don't try and stop shoplifters. Let Sainsbury's take that hit. Sainsbury's are a horrible racist organisation anyway. They have, separate areas for white, separate, safe spaces for ethnic minorities and white people. So they brought back segregation, which is a horrific thing to do. Sainsbury's, don't help them out. They're bad guys. Is
that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you were going to.
And I believe they chose not to prosecute this.
They chose not to prosecute, so they don't mind shoplifting. If anything, this guy should make up the £130 fine by going down and nicking the same bottles of wine that this shoplifter nicked.
Okay, well, Lewis, say that maybe you shouldn't do that. I don't know what you want to say.
No, I'm going to...
Should Sainsbury's buy some bullets?
No, I'm going to say this guy should be hit with a £130 fine because he knew, and that, as everybody knows in this country, is not helping that much, and he wants to play the hero, and he could have caused more damage, even if he was going slowly down a runway street. And if Sainsbury's doesn't care, if the police don't care, you pretending to care is uncaring.
I think he does care, and that's the problem. People should now just live these atomised lives and not care about anything and just watch the world disintegrate around them?
You know what? You can't do it by yourself. This is the question of our time. You raised a very interesting point about Sainsbury's, which I didn't know. I'm boycotting Sainsbury's because they don't advertise on our channel here. And
you know what? You should start shoplifting from Sainsbury's.
Well, and when you mentioned segregation,
don't shoplift from Sainsbury's.
No.
Okay.
And become a foreigner. I'm on my best behaviour.
Yeah. No, we've got to move on. Time's next. And Lewis, don't get the silly idea from this article that you're going to start getting paid.
Are you being paid?
Well,
wait.
Figuratively. Yeah.
Are you being paid?
I mean, what, in money? Leo gets paid in Sainsbury's vouchers.
No, you're being given transportation costs to and from the show.
I don't get transportation costs.
Why am I even here? If I'm not going to get paid.
I thought you're here for the fame, aren't you? You're here for all the women.
I like the fame, and everybody knows that I want the fame.
Hundreds of menopausal women.
Yes, that's very important to me.
Ladies, sorry.
But I mean, you're basically pushing it in my face. You're humiliating me that I don't.
You know what? Lewis, I know
for anybody listening on radio, this is going to be very
I know that was a joke, you leaving, but that's honestly the happiest that I've been in 6 months. I was just full of bliss. It's like this was the moment. I was free of you after 20 years.
Oh, Josh, I love you, Josh. But did I take that too far?
No, it was good. Was it good? No, now we're going to have like the Metro saying that a comedian walks off stage.
GBNews doesn't pay comedians.
Doesn't pay guy who wants bullets to deal with immigration or whatever. All right, quick. Oh gosh. Okay, we're going to do very quickly. Thank you for not explaining that story at all. Let's move on. Scares aplenty. And now, quickly, do you see fat people in this Mail story?
There have been many people affected by what's happened.
Oh, we've gone. No. Sorry,
that was
Rishi Sunak has not abdicated the throne.
Somebody else is falling on strike.
So this philosopher, and I think
they were laughing so much in the booth that they pressed the wrong button. So let's quickly do the story before we go.
So this philosopher, who's I think she describes herself as a philosopher. I don't think Plato would agree, but she says that fear of being fat.
She likes plates.
That's right. Fear of being fat should end, and instead hospital beds, plane seats and clothes should be made bigger. So she's 40 years old. In the past she said that fat is not inherently unhealthy and says that overweight people have nothing to be ashamed of, and that the higher death and disease rate for overweight people could be merely a correlation. Now, do you want to guess if she's fat or not? She used to be a beast, but now she describes herself as being small, fat. But yeah, she says that, this basically shows how science is now led by ideology. This idea that fat is healthy, any example of it being ill health is just a correlation.
But in 15 seconds, Lewis, is this woman a danger? And I'm not just talking about falling on people.
No, I think she could be right. There's no shame in being fat. The shame is in not knowing that the food that we eat and drink is made to make us fat, and it's almost a conspiracy of the...
All right, the show's nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Monday's front pages. We have The Times, mental ill health, driving surge in disability claims. There it is. We have The Guardian, top Tory says party faces obliteration in election. The Mirror, together we must end this horror now. iNews, ministers urged to act as flood risk lingers for thousands. The Metro, post office victims will get justice. Star, oh snowballs, big freeze is on the way. And those were your front pages. That is all we have time for. Thank you very much to my guests, Leo Kearse and Lewis Schaefer. Nick Dixon's going to be hosting tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Cressida Wetton and Bruce Devlin. If you're watching at 5 p.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Thanks for joining.
Brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, I'm Marco Petagna. Here's your latest weather update from the Met Office. We'll see plenty of fine weather across much of the UK in the days ahead. Some sunshine at times, but equally a few hazards to contend with. All of a fairly wintry flavour with cold air in place across the UK. High pressures dominating, sitting towards the north and northeast of the UK at the moment. Fairly tightly packed isobars down towards the south, indicating quite a brisk breeze. And that's feeding some showers in across the north of England, southern parts of Scotland this evening, working their way west into the Irish Sea towards the east of Northern Ireland as we head into the early hours of Monday. Some showers also developing down towards the southeast by the morning on Monday, could give some icy stretches as we head into the early hours of Monday itself. Towards the north and west, a cold picture, frost and some fog forming. And then through the day on Monday, ice likely to be a problem towards the southeast for a time as wintry showers move in from the east, working their way westwards but turning more to rain as they move across southern counties of England through the rest of the day on Monday. Whereas towards the north and west, apart from the odd shower across Northern Ireland, there'll be plenty of fine weather in store, lots of sunshine but still quite chilly. Temperatures no better than the low to mid single figures in most places. Tuesday promises to be a much better day, more in the way of sunshine developing after a frosty, locally foggy start. A lot of dry weather around too, lots of sunshine, but again, those temperatures really will struggle. Again, no better than the low to mid single figures in most places, highs of around about 5 Celsius, that's 41 in Fahrenheit. As for the rest of the week, well, we'll gradually see an increase in cloud from the north, so sunshine becoming more and more confined to southern areas.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Carson, this Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Hello, good evening. You're with GB News. I'm Sam Francis. The headlines at 7. This week's planned tube strikes in London have been suspended. However, TfL is warning there will still be disruption tomorrow because the walkouts were called off so late. Members of the RMT were due to strike in protest over a 5% pay offer, and that would have left hundreds of thousands of passengers facing severe travel disruption in the capital. However, the union says that the planned action will no longer go ahead after progress was made in discussions with TfL today. We're being warned that snow is on the way as an amber cold health alert has been issued for parts of England. The Met Office has also issued a yellow weather warning from 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Snow and ice is likely to affect roads and train services in parts of Greater London, in Kent, Surrey, East Sussex and in West Sussex. Meanwhile, 170 flood warnings remain in place across the country and over 1,800 properties have been damaged by floodwaters. After being criticised for not meeting with flooding victims, the Prime Minister has today been speaking with some of the residents affected in Oxford. During his visit there, he said the government's flood defences are working.
There have been many people affected by what's happened over the past week, but also 49,000 homes have been protected from flooding as a result of that investment, and also things like the pumps that I've been seeing here today and the flood barriers. Just in the community I've been walking around, hundreds of homes have been protected because of those investments. But of course this is going to be devastating for those who are impacted, which is why there's financial support in place. But overall, the investment that's going into flood defences is at a very, very high level.
In other news, the Conservatives have chosen the partner of disgraced former MP Peter Bone to replace him. According to the party chair Richard Holden, Helen Harrison was selected as the new candidate for Wellingborough at a meeting of members this afternoon. A by-election is being held there after Mr Bone was found to have indecently exposed himself to a staff member and then trapped them in the bathroom of a hotel room. He, though, has denied those allegations. It's the fifth day of the longest NHS strike in history as junior doctors hold their ground over pay and conditions. Hospitals concerned with patients' safety are pleading for an end to the industrial action, with several NHS trusts declaring critical incidents as a result of those walkouts. Talks between the government and the BMA broke down last month, with the union claiming its members are being given a pay offer of less than they had in 2008. Former medical director and chief medical officer of Bupa, Dr Andrew Vallance-Owen, says it's time for negotiations.
What they're doing is demonstrating how important they are to the NHS, but because we can see the chaos which is resulting from their action. But I think that their leaders, should be thinking now before they completely lose public support. At the moment, they have still got it, according to opinion polls. Now is the time to say, OK, we will negotiate.
And a firefighter from Lancashire has begun his attempt to break a Guinness World Record for the most weight lifted in just 24 hours. 42-year-old Glenn Bailey needs to lift more than 580,000 kilograms before tomorrow to beat the current record. That means he needs to lift 60 kilograms more than 12,000 times. He decided to take on the challenge to raise money and awareness for the firefighters' charity, which provides health and well-being services. Well, the very best of luck to him. That's the latest from the GB Newsroom. For more, we're on TV, digital radio and, of course, on our website, gbnews.com. This is GB News.
The BBC comes out swinging for the disgraced former president of Harvard. Victims of the post office scandal may be exonerated. And a United Nations group selects a man to represent women in the UK. This is Free Speech Nation. Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. This is the show where we take a look at culture, current affairs and politics. And, of course, we'll have the latest from those lovable culture warriors. You'll be reassured to hear they have started 2024 as they mean to go on. Coming up on the show tonight, we're going to be discussing UN Women UK's controversial decision to name transgender model and broadcaster Munro Bergdorf as their champion. Maya Forstarter from Sex Matters will be here to discuss that. I'll be talking to journalist Ella Whelan about why there has been so little condemnation of the horrific violence against women during the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. And Toby Young from the Free Speech Union will be here to tell us about the huge payout secured for a bank manager who was sacked by Lloyds over a comment he made during anti-racism training. And of course, myself and my fantastic panel will be answering questions from our beautiful studio audience. My guests this evening are comedians Bruce Devlin and Francis Foster.
Hello.
Did you have a lovely Christmas, Bruce?
I had a COVID Christmas.
Ah, you were ill.
Yes, yes. I came back from Newcastle with a myriad of diseases, including COVID.
Yeah, I'm sure you have many more. You're absolutely riddled. But the thing is, that's good in a way, because it means you have to stay in for Christmas and not be going out drinking too much and partying too much.
No, I stayed in and drank too much and
yes, which is
partied
much
and all
better.
that
I
kind
believe
of
that's
stuff.
healthier.
Yeah, I think
that's
so.
what the NHS recommend. How are you, Francis?
I'm good.
Yeah? Good Christmas for you?
No, dreadful. But anyway, we move on.
OK. Well, let's not probe, because I don't want to get too depressing at the start of the show. Let's instead go to our lovely audience for some questions. Now, our first question comes from Amelia. What a lovely name. I like that name. Amelia, hello.
Thank you.
Hi.
My question is, did the BBC get it wrong over Claudine Gay's resignation?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Claudine Gay, most of you will have been following this story, but the BBC were covering the resignation of Claudine Gay. She was the president of Harvard University, and she resigned, well, for a couple of reasons. She resigned partly because of plagiarism allegations, but also a backlash over that dreadful appearance in Congress. You remember the presidents of MIT, Harvard, and where was the other one? There was a third one.
University of Pennsylvania.
University of Pennsylvania, and they were all there. Basically, they were asked by a member of Congress to say whether calling for the genocide of Jews violated their campus policy. And they couldn't give a straight answer, could they, Francis?
No, they couldn't. They couldn't. They said it was contextual, which I'm sure made all the Jewish students feel very, very welcome.
What is the context where calling for the genocide of Jews is actually quite OK?
If you don't like them.
That'll be it. That'll be it. Very interesting, though, isn't it? Because Claudine Gay, it wasn't just about that, as dreadful as that was. But these allegations of plagiarism. Now, we've seen various figures on the left, particularly in the commentariat, saying that effectively plagiarism is being weaponised by the right to attack people. We've had that from Associated Press, of all places. That's nonsense, isn't it? I mean, as an academic, you're not allowed to cut and paste.
No, you're not allowed to cut and paste, even though my academic career, Andrew, was all about cutting and pasting.
Well, we're not talking about you here. We're talking about the head of Harvard University, right?
No, but this is it. So there were numerous, actually, allegations of her and instances where she essentially cut it and pasted.
Yes.
And having somebody who is the head of an academic institution as prestigious as Harvard, you need them to have impeccable credentials, which she sadly doesn't have. How can you expel a student or reprimand a student for
cutting and pasting?
Cutting and pasting.
When you do it yourself.
I can tell you this, Bruce, you know, as a former teacher, that was my bête noire, absolute nightmare. So basically, I'd get essays in from kids. I'd have to go online and just, you know, select sentences and find out if they've just copy and paste, because they often did it, you know?
I was exposed in school for plagiarism because I used to threaten people to do my homework. And that got back to the rector and I got suspended.
Quite the bully, weren't you?
I was actually, yes, because I thought if I start bullying people, maybe they'll stop bullying me, and they were scared.
Yeah, but on the other hand, your essays were much better as a result.
Well, no, I got found out, if you see what I mean. I was asked to leave when I was 15, and, you know, I just muddled through. Everything's fine.
I think it's very interesting that people are expecting us to hold certain people to a higher standard simply because they represent certain demographics. I mean, a lot of the people have pointed out that Claudine Gay was never a particularly high-flying academic. It doesn't look like she was appointed to this role other than because she's a black woman. That, to me, is a kind of soft racism. It's a, you know, it's a kind of sense of, well, my point is, why don't we just have a meritocracy? And then people aren't saying, well, we've been appointed because of our skin colour, because of our sexuality.
Well, this is the issue, because what actually happens is inevitably then these types of issues occur, and then these people then have to leave their positions, and then the whole racism conversation starts all over again. Whilst if you actually just promoted on merit, then you wouldn't be facing these problems.
Exactly. I mean, Bruce, you would be pretty upset, wouldn't you, if you thought that we'd only employed you to come here tonight because you're gay? I mean, that would be outrageous, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't even know. I haven't said whether I'm gay or not, so thank you very much. I'm not having words or anything else put in my mouth.
No.
Until after the show.
Yeah, Bruce, I agree. When I first met you, I assumed you were robustly heterosexual.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. When I met you, I thought, I hope I'm never friendly. And look, I'm stuck with it. It's like hinge and bracket.
But I will push back on that, because...
thank God, someone will.
He's straight, he's one of us. No, I will say this, you know, gay men are in the majority in broadcasting.
They are, that's true.
Oh, it's the Hodgson in here, honestly. You've no idea the hassle I get for doing this. I'm like, it's the Velvet Mafia. There's glory holes.
Okay. I'm not going to explain what that is, because there might be young people watching.
It's called a Brucey bonus.
No.
Had a Pepsi Max.
This is a pre-Watershed show. I should like to remind my panellists. Let's get a question from Alan, which is hopefully a bit cleaner. Alan.
Hi, guys. Happy New Year.
And to you.
Should all the victims of the Post Office Horizon system be exonerated?
Yeah, this is really interesting. Now, we've been following this Post Office story. Hundreds of sub-postmasters convicted falsely in the Post Office scandal. I had Nick Wallace on the show about 4 months ago talking about this very scandal. And it's now blown up, and and good. I mean, I'm glad that these people are getting justice finally. But what do you think about this, Francis? Because now the government is saying, well, we are looking into exonerating those people who are falsely imprisoned sometimes.
Yes.
Well, isn't it a no-brainer?
It is an absolute no-brainer, and the fact that it's taken so long for them to get to this position, when people have had their careers destroyed, their lives ruined, with there have also been suicides, it's heartbreaking.
Alan, do you have any thoughts on this since you asked the question?
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to find out Ed Davies' role in it as well.
Very interesting.
He was the Postal Affairs Minister at the time.
Yes.
And he seemed to have pretty much just washed his hands of it.
That's very true. I mean, I didn't know about Ed Davies' involvement in all of this until that story broke this week. But, I mean, let's face it, he's not going to get into power anytime soon, but he might well be in a coalition, right? So we do have to look into this, don't we?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
He hasn't got a good track record there, and I think we need to know a bit more about it.
Yes, absolutely. Bruce, do you have any thoughts about this situation?
I just think it's like any inquiry that comes. So it's just what you say. All the damage has been done, then suddenly, no, we're going to do an inquiry and lessons are going to be learned.
Yeah.
And it's all this kind of, whatever. It's just, it's a nonsense. Do you know what I mean?
But lives have been ruined.
But that's the whole thing.
You can't make that better.
I suppose the biggest question for me is, how has it taken this long to get to where we are?
I think that's a very good question. OK, well, let's move on now to Shirley. Shirley, hi.
Hi. Should you send emails during performances of Hamlet?
Emails during performances. What do you think, Shirley?
Not really too sure.
No? Well, OK, well, that's fair enough. But I would say, Shirley, that if you opened your laptop right now and started emailing away, I would have something to say about it. No, I think that would be quite rude, wouldn't it?
Why do you take your laptop to the theatre anyway?
Well, I know. We should fill this in, OK? So Andrew Scott, well-known actor, he was talking on a podcast this week about when he was performing a soliloquy from Hamlet. Actually, it was the most famous soliloquy to be or not to be. And an audience member, sometimes they take their phones out, and that's annoying enough. This guy opened a full-on laptop and started tapping away on the front row, and Andrew Scott stopped the performance. I think he was right to do that.
Yes.
Now, it's going to break the spell momentarily, right? And I really hate people misbehaving in the theatre, particularly in Shakespeare. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a snob like that. But, I wouldn't mind if it was, someone, a modern playwright. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, the works of the bard should be protected and respected.
If it was Brecht, we'd say, well, that's just part of the alienation device, and it actually supports,
the Verfremdungseffekt.
The Verfremdungseffekt. Look, we're sounding like Ponces now. No, look, what do you think about this one, Francis? Because if someone opened that during a production of Hamlet... I mean, I think they should be not thrown out. They should probably be flogged publicly.
Yeah, well, they should be executed.
Yes, I think
because if they're doing that in public, what are they doing in their private life?
Exactly.
It's not going to be anything good, is it?
What is going through someone's head to sit and to... I mean, it's so rude, not just to the actors, but to everyone else involved, everyone in the audience. I mean, what do you make of this, Bruce?